In 7th grade. This is project 2, step 1. You are going to be starting a still life drawing. So a still life is an arrangement of random objects, usually objects found around the house or around your classroom. In this case, I created an arrangement of random things I found around my house, different sizes, different shapes, different widths, and I went ahead and took a picture of it. So we're going to be working from this picture. Usually if you were all in the classroom with me, I would have set up a still life in the middle of the classroom, in the front of the classroom, and you would work from there. But since some of us are at home, I thought let's try it this way, where you have a picture to look at. So a still life, it's going to make you overall better at drawing. Artists, very famous artists, have been drawing, painting still lives for a very long time. I've done still lives in middle school, I've done a few in high school, and then in college I did a lot of still lives. So they're not the most exciting of subject matters, but they will make you better at drawing. So they're a great way to practice creating shapes and building three-dimensional forms through shading techniques of realistic lighting. So we're going to concentrate today on drawing these shapes as accurately as we can. And then once we get that done, it might go into next class time, we will talk about shading. And so in this picture, I did have a light that was shining over here, and you can see the shadows. That's a very prominent shadow. And we'll talk more about those shadows and how we'll shade them later in the project. Another thing with still lives, a big keyword, observation. So it's one of the most important skills that is exercised in still life drawing. So looking at the picture, keeping your eye on the picture while you're drawing, really looking at it and not thinking, oh, this should go there, this should go there. It's a good exercise for you to try. So you're going to need your art book and you're going to need a pencil. If you can, for my at-home learners, if you can print this picture out, there is a link for this week's folder. If you can print this out and make it full size, awesome. It doesn't have to be in color. You could print it out black and white to conserve ink, but if that's possible, please do that. Otherwise, you can look at your screen and you can draw from there. The only thing that I haven't quite figured out, but that's on the screen, it's going to be a smaller picture unless you can make it bigger somehow to look at it. And if you can print it out like this, it'll be almost the same size as your art book page. So yeah, if you can print it out, cool. If you can't, let me know, and maybe I can print some out and then leave them at the CEC entranceway, and you can grab one if that's possible, if you're coming by this week. So let me know, please reach out. Also, another thing, if you do print this out, please don't try to trace. Don't slide this under your work and trace it. I will be able to tell if you traced it, and it won't work. So it's not going to make you a better drawer if you trace this instead of actually, it could help give you an idea, but I really want you to challenge yourself with this. So just a little heads up there. So what we're going to start today is we're going to start mapping out these shapes. So I'm going to have my screen up, have my video going, but I'm also going to have the screen to look at. I have this here too. So I want you to watch me first and then go ahead and draw. You can always kind of compare, because my art book's the same size as yours, compare those sizes, and then we'll kind of chunk this up, do different steps at a time. So it's just mapping out the size of each of the 4 objects. So I like to start with the objects in the back first and make my way up, excuse me, to the front. And I'm looking at this picture and kind of, it's about the same size as my art book. So I'm looking at the space around, kind of breaking that apart, and then thinking about this bottle and kind of comparing it to the other objects. You know, it's taller than this object, but this object is probably twice as wide. So what I'd like you to do, instead of just diving in and drawing the bottle, I want you to make kind of really lightly, drawing lightly is key for this project, and making kind of like a rectangle shape. So I know that I'm going wider than the top, but then I'm thinking about the widest point, which is at the bottom. And so I'm going to go ahead and work with horizontal and vertical lines. And then thinking about, it's a little hard to see right here, but I'm thinking about right there is where my bottle ends. So looking at that comparatively to my page. You can even make a little line to map that out. So drawing lightly so I can erase these lines easily. So there's my bottle. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and move to this big plastic toy bucket that I found. And where it starts is about right before my bottle curves, which a little above halfway. So I'm thinking about right here. And then it's gonna go a little farther down than the end of my bottle, so probably about right here. Okay. And then it overlaps the bottle a little bit, so you can kind of just put it right along the edge. So again, making that longer rectangle. Draw lightly, I'm going to be saying that a lot. Okay. All right, I think that's accurate. It's a little short. But you know, don't be hard on yourself for this, okay? It's all a learning curve. I want to see mistakes. I want to see how you fix these mistakes, okay? So just listening to the directions, drawing lightly, and just, you know, I'm going to be doing some erasing here. You're going to need an eraser. So, you know, that's just how it works when you're trying to map out and trying to make a realistic drawing. So I'm going to move on to this cup. So this cup goes over my bottle. It's about towards the end of it, about right here where it starts. And then you see a little bit of that bottle. And then it's kind of getting cut off. I'm pretty close to the edge. And then it goes actually farther down than the yellow bucket. And something's not quite right. It's a little bit longer. Maybe squish it over a little bit. Okay. Okay. And then this apple. So just putting this circular form more in a square. I'd say it started about right here. Comes down a little further. Okay. So this is where you should be at. You know, if you're watching this, cool. I'm going to have you pause the video and go ahead and start on your work. So giving you time, if you can print this out, print it out, and then try it on your own. And then you can come back to this step and really compare, okay, where are my shapes in comparison to each other? How are they connected to each other? Okay, I think I'm going to leave this with step 1. And step 2 will start finding our shapes inside those square rectangular forms. Okay, good job.